So you've had the initial insight that shows you that you can change your world, and you've learned how to trust that without having to see it first. But now it's time to battle your biggest critics. Not the people around you, but the patterns within yourself that you've created over years to help protect you from shame and fear and guilt. Okay, so let's break this down line by line. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Well, see, John will use time like after this or afterwards or now in order to tell you that either now is where we're going to be dealing with this, or some time has passed since it's happened. So since the second sign, some time has passed, and now you're dealing with the third sign. And in this line, Jews are not a people. Jews represent the parts of you that have put laws in place that keep you safe. And then Jesus goes up to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem represents the inner sanctum, right? It was always a place where like wholeness and peace came from. So Christ consciousness is drawn higher into the center of your being. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate and pool. So sheep was always a sacrifice, right? But it wasn't lamb, because if we wanted lamb, that would be freedom from bondage. But sheep means surrender. And then pool is like a body of water, right? So water always means emotions or like inner feelings. But realize this is not a flowing body of water. This is contained water, right? Stuck in one place. This is your inner feelings, your worries. It's your memories, your beliefs, your fears. And the gate represents a threshold or a transition. So this is the place where we surrender to our inner beliefs, which has 5 roofed colonnades. And 5 in the Bible always points to human limitation. And they're roofed colonnades, right? They're not open hallways. They have columns, they have roofs, they're contained, but they also point to strength and support. And they call it Bethesda because Bethesda means house of mercy. So this is the place where true mercy is about to take place. True transition is going to take place to the belief systems that we've held that have been protected by our patterns our entire life. And in these lay a multitude of invalids, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. So these are not evil people, they're just unable. And notice, he doesn't say 1 or 2, there's a multitude, there's many of them there. And they're all parts of ourselves, these aren't actual people. Blind means the parts of you that cannot see the truth. Lame means the parts of you that see the truth but can't walk it. And paralyzed are we are just completely paralyzed by fear or other beliefs that we just can't even think about moving. And this is the one that we talk about here. One man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. Now, if you go back to Deuteronomy, 38 years was the amount of time that Israel wandered through the desert after they didn't trust in God. Now, our second sign just taught us to trust in God, so this is not a coincidence. John is depicting the part of us that has been invalid the longest. It's between where we are and where we're meant to be. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been there a long time, Jesus doesn't ask him, he already knew. See, consciousness already knows the parts of you that have been stuck in unconscious patterns. And he's lying there. He's not fighting. He's not moving. He's accepted his position. This is the part of us that say, I am just an angry person. Oh, I am just anxious. I have always been an alcoholic. These are the parts of us that we've just accepted as the truest form of who we are. And then Jesus asks him, do you want to be healed? Now that seems like a silly question, right? Of course he wants to be healed. But Jesus isn't asking, are you able to be healed? He's asking, are you willing to let go of this part that you've held onto for so long in order to move forward to who you're supposed to be? Do you want to be free of it or stay in the mind of this is who you are because you have the choice? The sick man answered him, Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up. So he doesn't answer the question. He doesn't plead with Jesus. He starts to give excuses as to why he can't. And the focus goes to everyone else. It has nothing to do with me. It's other people who should be helping me. It's outside forces that are keeping me stuck this way. And notice he says when the water is stirred up, when my emotions are stirred up, when a crisis happens, a breakup, a loss, my addiction acts up. I have no one to help me when I start losing control of my emotions. And while I am going, another steps down before me, meaning when I do make an effort, my old patterns step in before I can actually do the right thing. This is when the addict says, I'm going to stop using, but then old habits get him back into doing it. You say you're going to start trusting life, but then life becomes uncertain, and then you get back into the old habits. Or you say you're going to stop judging yourself, and you make one mistake, and then you're right back at it. And again, his attention goes to the pool, pointing outside of himself because he's not realizing that the change is actually going to come from within. Jesus said to him, get up, take up your bed, and walk. Get up. Stop identifying as a person lying there and step beyond what you accept to be true. Take up your bed. Now, why not just leave the bed there and start walking? Well, because the bed represents your past, your identity that you've been living in. And the past is not your enemy anymore. So you can pick it up and it becomes something that you carry with you forward. And walk. Not just know the truth, not just trust the truth, walk it. This is embodiment. And at once the man was healed and he took up his bed and walked. At once. Why? Because truth doesn't gradually become truth. The water didn't slowly become wine. The sun didn't slowly get better. The shift happens the second consciousness aligns with truth. Now, that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews told him, it's the Sabbath. It's unlawful for you to take up your bed. But what is the Sabbath? Rest. But really, peace. And the Jews are the parts of us that have been keeping peace within ourselves using these patterns that they've been building for years. So they're telling him it's unlawful. It's not a good idea. It's against our rules for you to be taking up your bed, for you to be taking your past and using it in your life. We've been building ways inside of you where you don't have to take up your past. You can just leave it and hide it and shelter it and actually proceed in your life. That's the way that these patterns have been emulating peace, the rest, the Sabbath. And notice, they don't see the healing, they just see the bed. They see the rule broken. They see the place that you've been lying that has been supporting you your whole life, the reason why you are who you are. You're now up walking with it, but that goes against the rules. That goes against the procedures that they've put in place that have kept you safe for years. But he answered them, the man who healed me, that man said to take up my bed and walk. Now, why does he repeat that phrase? Because he's reminding himself of his new identity. See, he realizes that if he just leaves the bed, he's putting his past behind him, pretending it didn't happen. If he just stands up with the bed, he's learned how to hold it, but not walk with it. So he has to be able to pick it up and just carry it with him. They asked him, who is the man who told you to take up your bed and walk? They, right? Not a specific person. If it was, John would have said so, but they. Why? Because they represent your inner programming. The parts that say you can't do this, people like you don't change. And they're asking, who told you that your past doesn't have to define you? Now, the man didn't know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, and there was a crowd in the place. So now there's all these voices, many opinions, many interpretations, battling with the new point of view, which is the Christ consciousness. So it gets drowned out. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple. Afterward, a little time has passed. And where did he find him? Not by the pool, not in the hallway, by the temple, your inner being. So the man goes within, and then again, Jesus finds him. And Jesus said to him, see, you are well, sin no more, for nothing worse may happen to you. Now, this is the first time that sin is brought up in these signs. And this is because this is the first time that now you know where you're supposed to be aiming, and you want to not aim away from that anymore. Sin means to miss the mark. And now that you know where the mark is, don't aim away from that anymore. Because as soon as you become conscious of the unconscious patterns, by going back to it, you're putting yourself right back to the place that made you miserable. The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had healed him. Now notice, he knows who it is, and he goes straight back to those thoughts and tells them, no, this is the way to go. This is where this is coming from. And he doesn't say, Jesus is the one who told me to take up my bed. See, that's all they were worried about. He exclaims, this is the man who healed me. This is where the change happened. He's focused on the transformation. This gave me a way out. And this is why the Jews were persecuting Jesus, because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. Yeah, because your inner patterns are going to be battling to try to get you back on track where they know that it made you safe, where they think that peace actually exists. But that's not peace. That's the illusion of peace. Real peace comes from truth. And notice, they're not asking any questions, but John puts, but Jesus answered, my Father is working until now, and I am working. My Father, God, the source of all life, that is forever changing and creating, is working in my life. And therefore, the expression of that, me, Jesus, the Christ consciousness within us all, is also going to be creating and changing continuously until now, up until this point right now and forever. So when we find a new way of living and thinking that can bring us actual peace, our old patterns who have been helping us survive this world will come back and fight you, because they don't think that what you're doing is going to be safe, because they've been fighting to keep you safe by doing all these things and helping you avoid discomfort. But the source of true peace is not found in avoiding discomfort and surviving by maintaining the old identity. The source is continuously creating, healing, and restoring. And so too is that expression of which is in our own consciousness, which is not against rest, but the true expression of it. Okay, thank you for following along. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I love you.